President Trump hosted Ireland's Prime Minister at the White House to celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
YouTube has terminated our main channel with millions of views just for telling the truth. But you can help us regrow by just subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and commenting down below. Thank you. President Trump hosted Ireland's Prime Minister at the White House to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. On Trump's bizarre press conference comments, when the president declares everything is a transgender these days during an official meeting with Ireland's Prime Minister, it's not just inappropriate, it's a deliberate distraction from economic policies failing in real time.
Meanwhile, today, Trump imposed 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imported into the U.S., and the European Union retaliated with tariffs on beef, peanut butter, and whiskey.
On Trump's tariff policies and economic impact, Trump's erratic tariff strategy reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of global trade. These aren't strategic negotiations. They're impulsive reactions that will have Wall Street terrified and ordinary Americans watching their retirement accounts plummet.
Trump just announced he's firing 50% of the Department of Education.
On Department of Education cuts, slashing half the Department of Education workforce isn't about efficiency. It's ideological demolition. When they locked employees out of buildings to prevent goodbyes, it revealed the administration's true contempt for public servants.
In schools, listen to this.
A, B, C, D, Elon, me, tariffs, J, K, T, R, U, M, P, R, F, K, Mickey D's, W, X is Twitter, me, no more FEMA, CDC, time to buy a Tesla, please.
That's interesting. That's
On global responses to Trump's trade wars. The synchronized international retaliation to Trump's tariffs from Europe to Canada to China shows the world no longer feels obligated to absorb America's economic tantrums without consequence.
I'm going to say this at risk of my job, Kelly, but what President Trump is doing is insane. It is absolutely insane. It is about the 8th reason we've had for the tariffs, and now he's saying he's putting 50% tariffs on Canada unless they agree to become the 51st state. That is insane. There is just no other way of describing it. And the trouble, Kelly, is that it shows there are no bounds around President Trump. This is very different from the first administration, where there were people around him who seemed to, I don't know what the word is, but smooth over some of the edges now. And the other thing that's not talked about, Kelly, is what's going on within the administration in terms of how they're treating the Constitution and laws. I think all of that is bad for the attraction of capital. And the gentleman from Bridgewater is 100% right. We need massive amounts of capital if we want to fund our deficits, pay for the things we want to pay for, sell our bonds, and have high stock prices. And it seems as if this administration is doing everything it can to chase foreign capital away.
Well, and we could go into the strategy of the insanity as a strategy in terms of our trading
Insanity is not a strategy. I'm sorry. I'm with you, Kelly, in trying to look for silver linings. I'm a sunny person.
Not silver linings, tactics, right?
Some explanation for this other than insanity. I'm ready to accept it if you can come up with one.
YouTube has terminated our main channel with millions of views just for telling the truth. But you can help us regrow by just subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and commenting down below. Thank you. When a CNBC senior economics reporter risks his job to call presidential actions insane on live television, we've entered uncharted territory. This isn't partisan hyperbole. It's economic experts sounding alarm bells about real damages to our markets and international standing.
I don't think we'll have a recession. Like I said, it's manufacturing. It's manufacturing.
Well, that doesn't mean there won't be. I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, no, manufacturing can easily cause recession. Absolutely. I'm not saying that manufacturing means it's not going to happen.
Right.
I'm saying manufacturing is that you can make it happen. And when you get angry and when you kind of lose your temper and you get mad instead of like the way Scheinbaum's handle it in Mexico, it gets people nervous and upset. They want the president to be a little happier. There's nothing wrong with being happy. You can be tough as nails and be happy. But right now it just feels like oh, we're going to just screw people have been screwing us for years and we're going to fight back, which is true. It's absolutely true, but you got to explain it very calmly and empirically how we're being hurt by in Italy, how we're being hurt by Germany, and this is going to stop, and we're going to make it stop. And then don't scream at those countries. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because they know that they can stand their ground. You tell them, look, I am going to scream at you. Help us, and we'll help you. People are scared. You don't scare people. You don't scare. It's a wrong call.
Even Jim Cramer Hartley, an anti-Trump voice, is sounding the alarm that Trump could manufacture a recession through these unhinged policies. When Trump loses CNBC, he's losing the economic narrative. Trump threatening 50% tariffs unless Canada becomes the 51st state isn't just bad diplomacy. It's the international relations equivalent of a toddler's tantrum. This is a negotiation. It's a national embarrassment.
Does this administration still consider Canada to be a close ally of the United States?
Well, I think Canada is a neighbor. They are a partner. They have always been an ally. Perhaps they are becoming a competitor now. But as the president also laid out in his Truth Social post today, he believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state of the United States of America. And I actually looked into some of the research about the cost of living in Canada, and the cost of living is much higher than it is here in the United States of America. The average cost of a home in Canada is much higher. In Quebec, the highest tax rate for an income of $150,000 or more is 53.3%. More than half of Canadians' incomes they are being taxed on. So the president has made it clear that he believes Canadians would be better served economically, militarily, if they were to become the 51st state of the United States.
What's truly revealing is the Republican silence. As Ontario Premier Doug Ford says, behind closed doors, they all admit that this is crazy. Yet, publicly, they bow their heads to their God King while making markets stumble.
It's done. It's united the whole country, and the patriotism is running wild across the country. The likes I've never seen before in my entire life. We'll never become the 51st state. Canada's not for sale, and we want a great trading partner. We had the greatest neighbors in the world, the U.S., and it's not the American people. They didn't vote President Trump in on this type of mandate. He had a mandate to lower inflation, lower cost of living, create more jobs, and it's backfired on him. Inflation's going up. Jobs will be lost. He's taking more money out of Americans' pockets. For what reason? We're still trying to figure this out. Let's sit down at the table and negotiate this deal. If there's things he doesn't like, then we sit down and we have a conversation. But just going tit for tat, back and forth.
The press secretary casually suggesting Canada would be better served as the 51st state shows how deeply detached from reality this administration has become. They're sacrificing our most important alliance on the altar of Trump's ego.
Not the American people. It's not even the Republicans I speak to. And behind closed doors, all of them are saying, this is crazy what he's doing. And CEOs of the largest Fortune 500 companies are telling him this does not work. Protectionism doesn't work. Do we want a fair deal? Absolutely. And the only way you get a fair deal is by sitting at the table across from each other, and let's hash this out and be stronger together. We have more problems, more foes around the world than we need. We want to focus on our friends. United we stand, divided we fall. And again,
notice the pattern. Republicans whisper concerns in private but remain publicly loyal, while our allies like Canada are forced to stand up to the American bullying. Who are the real alphas in this situation? What we're witnessing is economic hostage-taking disguised as negotiation. Trump isn't offering Canada options. He's threatening destruction unless they surrender sovereignty. This isn't deal-making. It's international extortion. The administration's fundamental misunderstanding of tariffs is dangerous. These aren't weapons that only hurt others. They're boomerangs that return to hit American consumers, workers, and businessmen. Notice the pattern. Republicans whisper concerns in private, but remain publicly loyal, while our allies, like Canada, are forced to stand up to the American bullying. Who are the real alphas in this situation? What we're witnessing is economic hostage-taking disguised as negotiation. Trump isn't offering Canada options. He's threatening destruction unless they surrender sovereignty. This isn't deal-making, it's international extortion. The administration's fundamental misunderstanding of tariffs is dangerous. These aren't weapons that only hurt others. They're boomerangs that return to hit American consumers, workers, and businessmen.
Donald Trump just got a world-class beatdown from the world, about $60 billion in retaliatory tariffs being applied to the United States when you add up the retaliatory tariffs from Canada and Europe. This follows Donald Trump following through on his 25% across-the-board aluminum and steel tariffs in Canada and in Europe. Canada and Europe swiftly responded. It was so odd yesterday. Donald Trump hosted the Prime Minister of Ireland, and in that bizarre Oval Office, whatever you want to call it, Donald Trump was bragging that the Premier of Ontario removed certain tariffs, which the Premier of Ontario added to the existing tariffs that were already going to be part of the retaliatory tariffs, because Trump has no clue what he's talking about. Just watch what Donald Trump said, though, in the Oval Office. Play this clip.
It's not going to be a tough battle. In my opinion, not going to be tough. Just like when Ontario charged us, everybody said, oh, they just charged. I said, this will be won in 1 hour. And they announced what we were going to do, and they withdrew their little threat.
YouTube has terminated our main channel with millions of views just for telling the truth. But you can help us regrow by just subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and commenting down below. Thank you. On Trump's tariff war with allies, Trump's tariff crusade is backfiring spectacularly as both Canada and Europe respond with $60 billion in retaliatory measures. This isn't strategic negotiation, it's economic self-sabotage that's already hitting American consumers' wallets.
Actions we're taking from my colleague and friend Dominique Leblanc. Canada is holding strong and will continue to do so together. Well, make no mistake though, this is going to be a day-to-day fight. This is now the second round of unjustified tariffs leveled against Canada and Canadian goods. The excuse for the first round was exaggerated claims about our border. We addressed all the concerns raised by the US, and in return, they agreed to temporarily abide by the free trade agreement President Trump signed himself with Canada. The latest excuse is national security, despite the fact that Canadian steel and aluminum add to America's security, not take away from it. All the while, there is a threat to further and broader tariffs on April 2nd still looming. The excuse for those tariffs shifts every day. The only constant in this unjustified and unjustifiable trade war seems to be President Trump's talks of annexing our country through economic coercion. Yesterday, he called our border a fictional line and repeated his disrespectful 51st state rhetoric. Well, Canadians have made it very clear that we will not back down and we will not give in to this.
On Trump's Canada annexation rhetoric, Trump's suggestion of making Canada the 51st state isn't just diplomatically tone-deaf, it's the language of conquest that's alienating our closest ally. The irony of a self-proclaimed border hawk calling the Canadian border artificial shows his principles are whatever serves him in the moment.
Ally very quickly when there's new leadership.
Well, the president is, again, responding to the fact that Canada has been ripping off the United States of America and hardworking Americans for decades.
On Mark Craney's response, Mark Craney measured yet firm response showcases the stark contrast between leadership styles, while Trump blunders with threats. Carney demonstrates how economic expertise and worker-focused politics can coexist with diplomatic strength.